My name is Dr. Felicity Joy Solomon, and I'm from Shorewood, Illinois. My testimony of coming to Christ, I always think is a little unusual, but I'm really happy to share it because I know a lot of people deal with things that they don't talk about a lot. I had a pretty idyllic childhood in terms of the fact of how supportive my parents were. I was kind of the golden child, and found out later in life my brother resented it a little bit, but he never made me feel that way. I loved him, he loved me. My dad was at every game, and I excelled in school, and things were really pretty awesome. And then when I was 16, in high school, well, I guess backing up a little bit, I was pretty boy crazy at about the age of 12 or something like that. Always just trying to figure out how to be around the boys and loving to talk to boys and things like that. But when I was 16, it was not a boyfriend situation. It was just someone that had took an interest in me, taking time with me or whatever. And I had sex for the first time in the house I grew up with in the basement. And I just remember thinking, I cannot wait to do that again. I mean, the guy was cool, but I could tell I didn't really care if it was with him or I just wanted to have that experience again. So that was more in the back of my mind fairly often in high school, and just always trying to get with guys. I kind of preferred men growing up anyway. Women can be so emotional sometimes, and I don't know. I just like talking to guys. I found out I just really like men all the way around. So it just became an increasing problem in my life, even to my low point was in college, where my mind would actually shut down if I didn't have sex once a week. And I could just start hearing a ticking in my brain. I mean, it was bizarre. And the thing that really troubled me is I've always kind of had a counseling personality, always been kind of a life coach even for myself. So any problems that I have, I just solved them. Like I just did research. If I was having trouble sleeping, if I was having anything, like I just figured it out. So, and I was at Princeton University at the time. I had figured a lot of things out because the schooling I had didn't necessarily lead to going to Princeton. I mean, I just, when I wanted something, like I figured out how to do it and I did it. This was the one thing that I realized, even though it was bringing me pleasure, it caused other problems because these are people, right? They're not just sex objects. So they have emotions and they wants and needs, and then sometimes you have wants and needs and they don't want it, and all these complications. And I thought, you know what, this isn't really benefiting me. So by the time I wanted out, I couldn't get out. It was something I could not figure out. We went pretty consistently since the age of 5 to Lutheran churches. So I had some type of Christian background and foundation. I was not taught about being born again, but a Christian foundation, but certainly no knowledge about spirits, demons, things like that. And of course, what I'm talking to you about is a demonic spirit. I was not going to be able to intellectualize my way out of a spirit that had control of me. Found out that this was a generational curse actually in my family as well. So it really wasn't until a number of years later, but it was like a couple of years after I graduated from college, I ended up going to a church with a friend of mine. I was doing a directing internship at the Arena Stage Theater in Washington, D.C., and I went to this church that was amazing. Multicultural church, black pastor, so intelligent. I'd never heard a minister so intelligent that also talked about being born again. So I was just really intrigued, and the sermons were like college lectures. I was excited about it, and but I didn't know what to think about this born again thing. And I would pray about it, and I'd say, God, are we supposed to be born again? And there was just one day in the service on a Wednesday night where I just had to go down to that altar. And so glad that I did, that I took the I actually apologized to God before I got saved because I just didn't know anything. But I went down to that altar and everything changed. I actually followed down that altar by a man. It was only like a 6-week internship. I was already dating 2 men. And a man had come with me to church, went down the aisle with me. I did not notice. But when we got in the back room and they were explaining things to us, I just realized that something actually had happened. Walked out and the sky was blue and the grass, like, isn't the grass greener? It's definitely greener, right? And he's like, yeah, I don't think so. We went back, as we had done every Sunday, go back to somebody's place and would have brunch in bed. And I'm lying there naked, having brunch, and I have this realization. And I said it out loud. I said, I don't need to be here. I am running for Senate in Illinois in the 49th District. And I am running because I am inspired by Kingdom Conservative Party. When I first saw the videos come out and just how they explained that the Constitution was written based on the Bible. And these are things I knew, but just hearing the purity of the platform and being so out front with that message did something to me. I really realized that we've been living far under our covenant as a nation. And even being a conservative, being a Black conservative, following all these things, learning a lot about conservatism in the last couple of years, I realized that it really didn't hit to the root, because conservatism draws all of its power from the Bible. I mean, these are biblical principles. And so when you go to the source of something, you really feel the power. I felt like I hadn't seen that kind of passion that Bevelin, Edme, Ricky, that they spoke with. I hadn't seen that in politics in a long time. It had all become somewhat cookie cutter to me. And when I saw that passion, and I realized my background, I'd been going to a very strong, what I would call a word of faith church for 27 years. Sometimes I was going to service 3 to 4 times a week. And we studied that word and we applied that word in our lives in small group. We talked about it. We held each other accountable for growth. We laid hands on the sick. We saw them recover. I mean, so many things, right? And I realized that it was for such a time as this. Just as they had talked about, it totally changed my paradigm of the qualifications of running for office. Because I realized that most of the people that are in office today are not instructed in righteousness. I wasn't just instructed in the Word of God. I was instructed in righteousness and how to renew my mind to the Word of God. So quite frankly, I've had people say to me, like, you have no experience at all, no political experience. Personally, I think it's a plus at this point. But I don't think that whatever the nuts and bolts of actually being a senator, I can learn that. I know I can learn that. I can read. I'm a smart girl. I can learn that. But what you cannot get when you put your hand on that Bible and swear in, you cannot get instruction in righteousness. That takes years. That takes a commitment. And that's what I've got.